Okay, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Board of Mayor and Alderman meeting for March the 24th, 2026. We're going to call the roll. And Alderman Barnhill.
Here.
Alderman Blanton.
Here.
Alderman Caesar.
Here.
Alderman Peterson.
Here.
Alderman Berger.
Present.
Alderman Brown.
Present.
Alderman Potts.
Present.
Vice Mayor Baggett.
Present.
And the mayor's here also. We plan on having an invocation tonight. I'll ask Alderman Barnhill to lead the invocation. And then we're honored to have a scout troop with us tonight, and I'll introduce them at the time we're going to do the pledge. So if we'll all stand, please.
Would you bow with me? Heavenly Father, we come to you tonight. Thank you for the many blessings that you have afforded us. We give you thanks for these blessings. We know that we are a tremendously blessed community and a blessed nation. Even though there are some issues now, we ask that you be with our national leaders, be with the President, the Congress, as they go through a difficult time and there's issues that they need to resolve. We also ask your blessings upon our first responders, the police department, the fire department. We know that there are some stressful times in their lives and stressful when it affects their families. We ask your blessings also on us as aldermen. Decisions that we make that ultimately affect the direction in which the city is going. We ask that you give us spiritual wisdom and guidance to make those decisions. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Thank you. Marshall Redden, would you please approach the podium and introduce who you have with us that's going to lead the Pledge of Allegiance?
Thank you, Mayor. I want to introduce the Scouts from Troop 137 here in Franklin. And they are going to lead us in the pledge.
Please come to the podium and Scouts and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Scouts, and we always enjoy seeing our Scouts here. And we look forward to you coming back when you're an Eagle Scout. We're now going to set the agenda. Are there any changes in the agenda or any items that need to be removed from the consent agenda? If not, I entertain a motion.
Move to set the agenda as stated, Mayor.
Thank you.
Second.
Second by Alderman Potts. Any discussion? Ready to vote. Alderman Barnhill.
Yes.
Alderman Blanton.
Yes.
Alderman Caesar.
Yes.
Alderman Peterson.
Yes.
Alderman Berger.
Yes.
Alderman Brown.
Yes.
Alderman Potts.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Baggett.
Yes.
Passes unanimously. I have a number of speaker cards. Don't think there are any that are on items not on the agenda, so we'll continue to move forward on any communications from the County Commission. I notice Commissioner Petty is here tonight with us. We welcome him. Are there any other members of the County Commission that are here? Thank you for attending, Commissioner. And we'll now go to approval of the minutes, which are for the work session of March the 10th, 2026, and the Board of Mayor and Alderman meeting. I'd entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Thank you, Alderman Brown. Second by Alderman Caesar. Any discussion? Ready to vote?
I'll second.
Okay. Who seconded?
Throwing my voice at Clyde.
You sounded a lot like Clyde. I'm sorry. Alderman Barnhill made the second. Any discussion? You ready to vote? Alderman Barnhill.
Yes.
Alderman Blanton.
Yes.
Alderman Caesar.
Yes.
Alderman Peterson.
Yes.
Alderman Berger.
Yes.
Alderman Brown.
Yes.
Alderman Potts.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Baggett.
Yes.
Passes unanimously. We'll now go to miscellaneous reports. Mr. Hilty.
Yeah, so thank you. I appreciate the time this evening. I would like to announce that this evening is Angie Scarp's last board meeting. She will be leaving us here in April. She came to us from Laramie, Wyoming in 2019, serving as our city recorder. She's been a great asset to the city. One of the wonderful things she brought to us was a mentorship program that has really impacted dozens of our employees in such a positive way. So, and that and many other things. I've always appreciated her sense of humor. She really tries to help keep things light when things get stressful. So I really appreciate her, and we'll miss seeing her every day. So thank you.
Good.
Well, I want to take an opportunity, if I could, also to comment about, I get to, huh? Thanks. To say a few comments about Angie, and, first of all, she probably has the most difficult task in the world to see 8 aldermen all wanting to speak at the last time, and she controls the microphone. So we appreciate that hard work, but you've brought a level of professionalism to this board and this organization. Some of it I don't like having to read all those names when we vote, but I understand we're doing it correctly, and appreciate that professionalism. So we're going to be missing you, but I understand we will see you some as a consultant, possibly. So good luck, and thank you so much, Angie. Let's give her a hand. And you've trained some really great support folks for us, and thank you. Are there any other miscellaneous reports? Seeing none, we'll go on to the consent agenda, and all items under the consent agenda are deemed to be non-controversial and routine nature by the governing body. We're looking at items number 16 through 21. Is there a motion?
Sir, I move to approve.
Thank you, Alderman Potts. Second by Alderman Caesar. You didn't get it, Alderman Barnhill. Any discussion?
I was just getting your attention.
You want to be recognized on item 12 or something?
I don't know what item 12 is.
It might be item 14, dismissal. Alderman Barnhill, how do you vote as far as the consent agenda?
Yes.
Alderman Blanton?
Yes.
Alderman Caesar?
Yes.
Alderman Peters?
Yes.
Alderman Berger?
Yes.
Alderman Brown?
Yes.
Alderman Potts?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Baggett?
Yes.
Passes unanimously. Before we go to item 4, I need a little bit of clarification on these speaker cards. My plan is on the development plan for the Harlan property is I'm going to have everybody that signed up to speak on the Harlan property on number 9 is my plan, unless that is not okay with the speakers. I'm glad to give some variance there. There is a little bit of confusion on Penny Cromwell. You listed items 4 through 9, and item 4 happens to be the Ingram property
And 5.
and not the Harlan property. So you also signed up number 9, and I just need a little clarification whether you want to speak on both.
Item 9 is fine, Mayor.
I'm sorry?
Item 9 is fine.
Okay.
Just on that.
And Ms. Curtis, are you speaking on item 4, or are you speaking on something else?
9 will be fine, thank you.
Okay, thank you for helping me clarify that. Okay, so we're now on item 4, which is Resolution 2025-106, a resolution annex 1 property consisting of 78.89 acres located south of Hillview Lane, west of Columbia Pike, and adjoining the city limits within the southern part of the Franklin Urban Growth Boundary. This is the third and final reading. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Thank you.
Second.
Second by Alderman Brown. Any discussion? Ready to vote. Alderman Barnhill.
Yes.
Alderman Blanton.
Yes.
Alderman Caesar. Is that a no?
Yes, sir. Correct.
Alderman Peterson.
Yes.
Alderman Berger.
Yes.
Alderman Brown.
Yes.
Alderman Potts.
Yes.
And Vice Mayor Baggett.
Yes.
Passes 7-1. We'll now go to item 5, which is an ordinance 2025-53 as amended, an ordinance to zone 79.89 acres agricultural district and Hillside Hillcrest Overlay District for the property located south of Hillview Lane and west of Columbia Pike. Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Thank you. Second by Alderman Berger. Any discussion? Ready to vote? Alderman Barnhill.
Yes.
Alderman Blanton.
Yes.
Alderman Caesar.
No.
Alderman Peterson.
Yes.
Alderman Berger.
Yes.
Alderman Brown.
Yes.
Alderman Potts.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Baggett.
Yes.
Passes 7-1. We'll now go to item number 6. This is a public hearing consideration resolution 2025-24, resolution adopting a plan of services for the annexation of property located west of Hillview Lane and north of Coleman Road at 1247 Hillview Lane of the city of Franklin.
Thank you. The applicant is requesting a plan of services for property located at 1247 Hillview Lane. This resolution is a City of Franklin drafted plan of services for that property being considered as part of the proposed request for annexation, which is the next item on this agenda. The plan of services outlines how infrastructure will need to be provided to serve the property of approximately 311 acres. The property is now contiguous to the city limits and is within the southern portion of the Franklin urban growth boundary. The property includes one parcel and lies within the SW1 basin as defined by the city sanitary sewer basin study. The basin is identified as a midterm annexation capability area due to the developable acreage being severely limited and the area's ability to be served by water and sewer. Water availability will be provided by HB&TS. The draft plan of services details no major concerns in providing infrastructure and services to the property. No additional personnel or equipment would be necessary for fire, police, or sanitation. Staff's recommendations for this item is in your handout that we gave out earlier, along with those amendments, and happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
And this is a public hearing. I will give the audience a chance to speak on this item, if they want to speak on the annexation. Seeing nobody, I'm going to close the public hearing, and here's what I would recommend as far as consideration, that we have a motion to approve Resolution 2025-24. I would also, since there's been a change as far as the status, as far as contiguous to the city of Franklin, that there be a motion to amend Resolution 2025-24 to remove non-contiguous from the second and third whereas clauses and remove Statement 5 under Section 1, subsection E, streets, which references an interlocal agreement with Williamson County, and replace the map exhibit to show updated city limits with the inclusion of the newly annexed Ingram property. In addition, I would consider an additional amendment to that resolution to move it to the April 28th Board of Mayor and Alderman meeting and hold another public hearing at that time. I'd entertain a motion to approve Resolution 2025-24.
So moved.
Appropriate motion.
Second.
Second, by Vice Mayor Baggett. I would now consider an amendment to that motion to correct things such as non-contiguous and also the fact that it's now contiguous to the city. And as I stated a minute ago, as far as showing the city limits updated area, I'll read it again.
We can.
Sorry.
So, second recommended amendment to the motion has to do with non-contiguous for the second and third whereas clauses, remove Statement 5 under Section 1, subsection E, referring to interlocal agreements, and replacing the map exhibit to show the updated city limits.
I move for approval as noted.
Second. Appropriate motion, second.
Mr. Mayor, is that?
You can discuss the amendment to the original motion. Seeing no discussion on the amendment to the original motion?
Clarification, Mr. Mayor, does that include the April 28th?
No.
No.
Okay.
Not yet.
Thank
We'll
you.
get to that in a minute.
Not yet.
All right.
Alderman
I just
Caesar.
want to make sure.
Yes, sir. I just, more of a point of information. I was just curious. The motion that was amended, or the amendment was motion to amend Resolution 25-24 to remove non-contiguous from the second and third whereas clauses, remove Statement 5 under Section 1, subsection E, streets, which references an interlocal agreement with Williamson County, and replace the map exhibits to show the updated city limits with the inclusion of the newly annexed Ingram property. I wanted to make sure that entire piece was the amendment.
Yes,
it
I
is.
appreciate your reading that in, and I think that was
My
the
motion.
intent. to the
Yeah, my
original
motion was as the mayor had read. Yes.
Thank you.
Any discussion on it? You ready to vote on the amendment to the original motion? Alderman Barnhill,
Yes.
Alderman Blanton.
Yes.
Alderman Caesar.
Yes.
Alderman Peterson.
Yes.
Alderman Berger.
Yes.
Alderman Brown.
Yes.
Alderman Potts.
Yes.
Alderman Baggett.
Yes.
Passes unanimously. I would now ask you to consider an additional amendment to the original motion to refer it, to defer the resolution 2025 forward to the April 28th BOMA meeting with another public hearing to be held at that time.
So moved.
Second.
Appropriate motion for the amendment. Alderman, you may speak to the motion to defer to April 28th.
So this is gonna,
Sorry.
this is gonna lead to a string of, this is kind of the first domino of the deferral discussion, so I think that needs to be addressed. I think it's been made pretty clear by the applicant that they would like to vote on the development plan tonight. Questions asked in between work session and this voting meeting as to why we're being recommended to push to the 28th is really centered around the quote unquote changes that have been made to this plan. And I say quote unquote because these plans actually exist from 2017. The plans to connect Chimerick to Matt Catcher, and Matt Catcher to Hillview Lane. This is not new. The right of way doesn't have to be even acquired. The road bed exists. The Shadow Green subdivision plan, which is mentioned in the condition number 30, it's in their development plan. This road is in that plan. The folks that are living in that home that they live in today are living in a development plan that was approved with this road and connection anticipated, not only anticipated, but easements granted all the way to the right of way at Matt Catcher. So I think there's a, we've got. I would say that we don't need to push these any further. I think we've met our minimum legal requirements of noticing. Others might disagree, and I appreciate the counsel that we've gotten. I'd like to talk more about that, have others maybe ask questions. I think there are other issues surrounding, as this was the timeline that was kind of laid out for the applicant by staff and everything, and everyone else. Did they get their plans to? I can't keep up with what was submitted and what wasn't. But the reality is that this development plan had a public meeting. The roads that are in question have been on city plans, major thoroughfare plans, since 2017. So there's nothing substantially new that has been added to this development plan that has not already been established on the deed in the development plan that exists. So the idea, I think, that we have to push this for a public hearing to then give people the ability to talk about an easement and a road and a plan that already exists on the development plan in which the houses that they live exist, I think is really, I think it's excessive. I understand. I wish we'd have had this 9 months ago, frankly. But the impact of that connection was established in 2017 whenever Shadow Green was approved, which was probably in the 2020, I think it was in the 2020s.
Oh, it was much earlier than that.
Yeah. So early.
Constructed in the 2021s, anyway, it was earlier than that. So that's even, makes more of a case. So I guess that's where we've run into this kind of issue where you've got an applicant that was following the path, and then now we're being asked to push for because of noticing a public hearing. By the way, this isn't a separate meeting in which the public gets to come. It's the same thing it's this again. This is not like when I called for the additional public meeting for the applicant to have at the church, where it was a discussion and engagement. That's not what this is. This is this again. So the people that show, this again. This is a public meeting again. We have noticed a public meeting tonight, and they're asking us to notice the same thing again in 1 month. That's the only thing that's going to change. There's nothing else that's going to change. The applicant has said that they're not shifting. And by the way, when I called for that public meeting, and we all did, a lot of us did, back before it was at the church, that was so that changes could be made. The changes that we see today. That isn't going to happen between now and then. Now and April the 28th. In fact,
What's the problem?
the problem is why are we delaying it for something that is going to be the exact same?
asked us to.
To do,
that we
we'll have this.
represent.
We'll have this again.
To do what?
Sorry.
Yeah, I'm expressing what I think that I think we're gonna have more trouble if we don't vote on it. There's a lot of things, and maybe we can talk more about that if the mayor would allow. But I think there's a lot at play, and if we want to delay it a month, that's fine. It's up for the vote. But I'm advocating what I think makes sense.
Any other discussion on the amendment to the original motion as amended to defer to the April 28th Board of Mayor and Alderman
So
meeting?
you're not going, no public hearing tonight, if we defer.
You already did your public hearing.
I've offered folks to speak on this, and I think I see somebody that does want to speak to it, and so I'm going to open the public hearing back up and allow you to speak. So I'm giving you a lot of leeway, so you got 2 minutes.
Or, Mayor, I revealed my true self. Rob Dodson, Your Honor, I live on Hillview Lane, and I learned about this on Friday. So to say that it's been out there, I don't think is fair. Yeah, there is a plan for when Mac Hatcher gets built, all this is going to happen. We've discussed this ad nauseum, that wasn't necessarily ever going to happen. And to say that is a reason for us not to get the right to have some time to consider what they're proposing is unfair. It's the bottom line. It's unfair. And I would like to at least have a few days to think about this, to see, is there something else that could be proposed? Because I've come up with a couple of things. And I'd like to have an opportunity to discuss those. And I'd like to have an opportunity for this to be presented when anybody who actually wanted to know about it could be here. Because they can't. I got contacted by several different people who said, I didn't know anything about this and I'm out of town. It's not fair. It's just not fair. And there is no right-of-way has to be acquired. My neighbor's property has to be acquired in order to put this road in. So there is a right-of-way that has to be acquired. There is no plan that shows a road next to my house, shows it through my house. It's unfair, and I am appalled that we can't take a moment, a breath, and let us consider what is a very significant change to this plan. I mean, it's a huge change. This is a new road that they're proposing to build. It's just unfair.
May I speak, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, and I'm not going to do this on every other
I'll be
item.
brief.
I'm only allowing some latitude
I'll be
right
brief.
now.
I'm going to specifically address the Shadow Green. My name is Nikki Horner. I
You gotta
live on
give your name,
1401.
please.
Nikki Horner.
Thank you.
I live on 1401 Coleman Road. I also have a property investment in Shadow Green, which I'm on the HOA for, on the master HOA. So I'm affected in many levels by this development. With regard to Alderman Baggett with the issue with the road that's already put in with Shimerick, we were not aware of that when we purchased properties. I'm going to guarantee you, anybody here in Shadow Green probably didn't know that.
We're not asking for a show of hands.
But Goodall did not present that when they presented any of the paperwork to us. That was not knowledge that we had. And actually, we had a meeting with Boyle 2 years ago with Adam Balish, who assured us that we wouldn't be affected by any of this development. And then we just found out this week, when we noticed this was published, oh, this has been set since 2017, or 2019, no, 2017. Brand new news to us. So the reason why you have people here on an issue that has obviously been done since 2017, it's new knowledge to us. We noticed at the end of the road, there was an unfinished road. There's lots of unfinished roads all over Franklin. You wonder, why is that there? That's odd. It's like at the end of the cul-de-sac, and it goes to nothing, and there's just a hill there. Other than that, this is brand new information for the residents that are there. And the issue isn't just losing the view. If you've ever been to Shadow Green, I have it written down, there are 86 townhomes and 160 condos. We're at the very end of like a cul-de-sac area. This is a neighborhood. There are kids who ride their bikes. People are walking their dogs all the time. There is a great community center there, amenity center that has a pool. People are walking to and from. I'm not trying to understand how is the traffic that's going to go through there not going to impact that community. Are there going to be speed bumps or something to slow people down? But it is going to impact that community. I understand based on the work session, the benefits that can happen with the construction that's going to be on Columbia and if they can go around. But aside from that, the long run, you're throwing on us this thing we had no idea that was going on. So that's the reason why everybody is shocked, everybody is here, because we had no idea this was a fight we've kind of been fighting, and we didn't know that it was a done deal.
You'll finish up, your time's up.
Thank you.
Okay, we're back to the amended original motion as far as deferral to April 28th.
Mr. Mayor, I have a point of order for Shauna. I just want to get clarification, is that regarding notification for the public. A gentleman just took the podium and he said, I didn't hear about it until Friday, but notification of this was put into the paper and we followed the correct processes. Is that correct?
We didn't put this on the civic clerk agenda until Thursday. So that by law, we have to update any sort of supplemental paperwork. So it would be these kind of things 2 days, 48 hours before a meeting. So we met the legal deadline, but this change has only been known to the public since Thursday. And I want to say that nothing has actually, what you're voting on right now hasn't changed. It's when you amend the development plan later, if you decide to take that step and add that condition, additional language to condition 30, that's when you're actually changing it. And that, no one knows if you're going to do that yet or not. I mean, we're going to wait and see what you do. That actually hasn't happened yet.
And one other question for clarification is another resident took the podium and asked the question, we weren't aware of this, but this connection within Shimerick was part of the original development plan for this for this area. And that has always been on the books since it was previously approved, correct?
So yes, the connection, the Chimeric Drive, whatever the road name is, was part of the Shadow Green development that was approved in 2018. So that's been on the plans. I think the idea was to put in that road once Mac Hatcher was completed, which that's why the roadway wasn't dead-ended to nothing. But with this plan and the extension of Mac Hatcher, then the intersection can be completed and connected into Shadow Green.
Okay. So again, for all purposes, this has always been part of the development plan.
For Shadow Green since 2018, correct.
Okay.
Alderman Caesar, you're recognized to discuss deferral to April 28th.
And I suppose while it's been on a plan, and it was on that plan, this plan in particular did not include the extension of Mac Hatcher until recently. And I think that's probably where the disconnect is, Alderman Baggett. It's not that it hasn't been on a plan. It's not been a part of this project until as recently as 48 hours ago, publicly. And so as somebody that hopes to find middle ground here, and I think this project has evolved in a very good way. I should go on record saying that. Certainly it's better today than it was a year and a half ago when it came before us. And I think that's because we've listened to folks who come in here and share their opinions. I think that's because we've proven that we're not looking to expedite this and get it through real quickly. We want to hear feedback from the community, in great part because it makes our projects better. And so I'm not concerned that waiting 34 more days is going to disrupt and create an implosion on this project. I'm more concerned that the people that asked me to come here and represent them feel like we tried to run something through. With 48 hours, please don't, with 48 hours notice and properly following the law, in my mind, doesn't feel great in this significant of a development on the southwestern portion of our community. And for that reason, I want us to defer this. I want us to defer the entire package. And I'm certain that we'll make good decisions in 34 days on this. And the people that are here tonight, maybe some of them will come back and maybe some of them won't because they'll have had time to digest what this project is. And that while maybe immediately it feels like a dramatic intrusion into their space, they may see like, wait a minute. Having a mile of Mac Hatcher done isn't the end of the world. If I live at the end of Shimerick Drive, it may give me a faster way to get out of my community. I may not have to deal with Greg Caesar's family going to Chick-fil-A 3 times a week. And for that reason, Mr. Mayor, I'm going to support deferring this to make sure that the folks who are going to be dramatically affected by this, who live in that quadrant, have an opportunity to reach in, dig in, understand this, call us. Please don't send us 1,000 boilerplate emails, but call us and share ideas for ways that we could improve this project. That's all.
Vice Mayor, did you have one more comment?
Oh, that was for Joey. Is the sign, we require, when we do have a development plan, we require where a road is going to be future built, we require the development to put up a sign that says, there will be a road that will go here in the future. Do you know if that exists in this development?
I don't believe there's a sign currently there at Chimeric.
There's not?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
On a hill.
Yeah,
I mean, it's got some land there that's opened up, but it's not paved.
I've been there. I just know that, I mean, I think the public needs to know that, like, when this isn't done in a vacuum, we really go to the extent of requiring the developer to put up a sign. And whether or not the HOA is still there or not, I don't know. But that if it was approved, there should have been the sign put up.
Alderman Berger, you can.
Yeah, there's a couple of things. Staff's recommending that they tie into Shadow Green because it's on thoroughfare plan. It's
Keep
always
your
been there.
comments to the deferral to April
Right,
28th.
and this is how, if I'm gonna vote yes or no on this deferral, I have to think through this. So if I wanna defer this, I'm thinking, what did we know then and what do we know now that is not different? And so that's exactly, this has always been here, and it's not our responsibility when somebody closes on a property to go to all these people and tell them all the plans. I mean, I know I had to go check that out for my own house. The only other thing I'd say that if I'm going to vote for or against this deferral is I'm trying to get my head around this because people came and asked us not to touch Hillview Lane. Get that. And the developer's gone back and they said, do something else. Come up with another access point. Don't touch Hillview Lane. They went and they did that. They answered to that question and that challenge, and they came up with it. So here it is. And now we're going to go back through this again, like Patrick said. If you're asked for something and they come up with a solution to not touch Hillview Lane, which none of us up here, I don't think, wanted Hillview Lane touched. So I'm trying to think, to defer this further. I mean, you have a point. People ask for it. It's another month. Time and, pardon?
That is not the only thing that was asked.
I'll get to you,
Well-
Alderman Peterson, but I'm not going to recognize you until Alderman Berkeley
Yeah.
finishes.
So I think that's just the disturbing part to me of whether I'm going to vote to defer this, because this is what they've been asking the developer to do. They came back with the solution to that, and it also works within the thoroughfare plan. A lot to think about.
Alderman Peterson, you're recognized.
As I say, I think that there's been some things that were brought out tonight and that will need to be looked at. And so that's the reason I want to defer until the 28th.
Thank you, Alderman Peterson. Alderman Potts.
Thank you, sir. I did have a follow-up question for staff. And this is back on the sign piece or for Shauna. Proper notice was 48 hours to be put there. This has always been part of the development plan for that subdivision. This is this could potentially be an adjacent subdivision or development that would connect to to Shimerick. So the question is process-wise, are we required? I want to get greater clarification. I think Alderman Baggett was either asked this or going in this direction. Are we required to put up signage, corrugated sign, some type of notice that Shimerick is going to be extended, or is that not part of our process?
You mean originally or for this specific?
At any point in time, if we were going to work on a road and it was time to move it forward, did we need to provide notice to the public and posting signs, aside from what we did and adding it to civic clerk? And I ask because we see signs up like, oh, this is going to be rezoned, or we see, this, that. So just take it with that. And I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I just want to understand the process, because I'll go ahead and tell you, I think there are so many benefits to the Mac Hatcher extension and to connecting Shimerick, and I'm fine if the public needs, that awareness aspect of it. But right now, I feel like that development team has done everything and gone above and beyond. I just want to make sure that we follow the processes.
Yes, the processes have been followed. I think that we're talking about two different signs. There's the sign that Alderman Baggett mentioned that would say the city will be extending the road at a future date. And that's required per a final plat, and the property owner, when they're developing the property is required to put that out. But in reference to public notice signs, there were rezoning and annexation signs placed on the property. However, they just refer to our website, and we provided all the new information through our public agenda software, Civic Clerk. So that was all done according to what we were required to do. But if you were a neighbor, you may not have, unless you were contacted and told that there was new information up on the website, or you were just checking it regularly, you would not necessarily know that there was a new proposal for this agenda. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. And I appreciate the clarification on that. Yeah, thank you.
Would you like to speak to the deferral?
Yes.
Alderman Blanton, you're recognized.
I think, and to piggyback what's been said, while this has been on the books and the development plan for Shadow Green, on the transportation plan, the new road, which is exactly what it's been called, was not on any plan. So there is new information. And I think for some of these people, it's brand new information that even was going to affect them. And that's why the deferral is important, so that people can wrap their heads around it. And there's still maybe one or two people that need some more communications with the developer. And I think, our job is to represent the citizens. And to me, I feel like we can give a little bit more time to make sure those citizens get the conversations they need done. So that's why I support the deferral.
Are you ready to vote on the amendment to the original motion as amended?
Yes, sir.
As I said, are you ready to vote on the additional amendment to the original motion as amended? And that amendment that I'm speaking to is the deferral to the April 28th Bowman meeting. On the deferral.
Yeah, on the deferral. If we defer it, will staff change policy? Will they change their, will they change their recommendation? I'm not asking you to give me an answer, really. I'm just saying, if we defer this, will staff change their recommendation to connectivity? We have a policy for connectivity. Boyle doesn't really need this. I think they're doing it because it's on the thoroughfare plan and staff has recommended it. Correct, Emily, that staff has recommended this?
Yes, staff has recommended approval with conditions of the development plan and has recommended approval of the plan of service, the annexation and zoning, since it went to Planning Commission many, many months ago. We did receive this new proposal for how the off-site improvements are done, and staff is supportive of that. It has not gone back through a full review or anything like that, but engineering department has signed off on it and are in agreement with it. And so you will not see any new comments from staff regarding the design.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because this is in our thoroughfare plan and we have a city policy for connectivity.
Alderman Barnhill.
Someone explain to me what changes between tonight and the 28th of April. City Attorney, you'll give it a shot?
So, right now, nothing has changed because you haven't gotten to item 9, where at item 9, you are being asked by the applicant to amend condition of approval number 30. When you amend that, then you will have changed something. That's the part where the public hasn't yet seen that information put in the development plan. You will be doing that verbally on the record if you're doing it. That's what's changed. And so in anticipation of that, we're suggesting that everything kind of go together if you're going to add that. That's the new information.
Okay.
That's the new topic.
No, one more question. This is related to deferral. When did the applicant know that staff was going to recommend a deferral? And when, I guess throughout, because this is what I think the public needs to know, why there's some consternation. It is not because this board does not want to hear from the public. I think that, I want to make that really clear. What Brandy said, which was a little bit pointed, but is not true. Like, we want to hear what you have to say, period.
Sure.
This has been going on for almost a year. Public comment has actually led to this design. And so I can understand also why the applicant has contracts and different things that they have that are contingent on things.
You want her to answer the
I do
question?
want her to answer that.
Go ahead and answer the question.
So staff reached out to the applicant about a week before our agenda was due to the paper to ask if there were any new changes to the plan or any new information that were to be submitted. We received those a few days before our agenda packets were to be published. Staff worked, primarily engineering staff, along with some planners, worked with the applicant to come to an agreement on condition of approval number 30, which we'll discuss when we get to item 9, and to come to an agreement on the exhibit that is attached to that condition number 30. By that point, we received the final documents right before we published the agenda packet, And staff did not update the staff recommendation at that point because we had not even discussed process, if I'm being
Understand.
truthful. So today, we did update our recommendation because we realized that the agenda packet had been released since last Thursday. And we do prioritize transparency as a city of Franklin. And we thought that as city staff, we should recommend that this item be deferred to allow the public proper time to absorb the information, prepare any comments they may want to discuss with the board through a public hearing, and have that opportunity. So the applicant did receive staff's recommendation this afternoon.
When within the last 30 days, or at what time frame would it have been okay for us to receive that from the applicant?
Anytime
have
since
led
the
not-
last deferral.
That would have not led. Well, no, there had to have been a cutoff. Was it a week before the agenda publication? 2 weeks, 3 weeks before
Well,
the deadline?
because they're
where it
not
would not have-
required to resubmit, we didn't know if there would be new information or not. It would have been
A
about
month?
a month before, would have given us enough time to update a staff recommendation prior to the report
Now,
coming
would we
out.
have published the agenda? Now, this is where, listen, we're getting into it, but we would have still published the agenda on the Thursday, and the public would have still gotten all that information on Thursday. I don't see any route.
Correct, but the staff recommendation would have been prepared
Been in there on
earlier.
Thursday, so no way around this. Basically, what I'm learning now, and I appreciate this because this is feeding into what I want to do, but there's no way this public would have gotten more information before Thursday.
No, you're correct. Not unless
regardless
the
of that.
applicant held a public meeting on their
their
own. Sure.
And hindsight 22, I would have maybe that should have happened, but that's good. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Ready to vote on? I'm not even going to speak it again. Alderman Barnhill.
Yes.
Alderman Blanton.
Yes.
Alderman Caesar.
Yes.
Alderman Peterson.
Yes.
Alderman Berger.
Yes.
Alderman Brown.
Yes.
Alderman Potts.
Yes.
And Vice Mayor Baggett.
I'm going to vote yes on this.
Thank you. We'll go back to the original motion as amended twice. And is there any discussion on the
That was your
original?
deferral, you're done with that one. You can move on to the next one.
Okay, I'm sorry. Great.
It's been long.
No kidding. Okay, this is item 7. This is a public hearing, consideration resolution 2025-25 to annex one property consisting of 311.21 acres located west Hillview Lane, north of Coleman Road at 1247 Hillview Lane and not adjoining the city limits within the southern part of the Franklin urban growth boundary. And I'll give some clarification on what I'd like to hear. Joey, please.
All right. The property being considered for annexation is located west of Hillview Lane and north of Coleman Road. It is contiguous to the city limits and is within the southern limits of Franklin's urban growth boundary. The subject property requesting annexation is within the Village Green design concept as defined by Envision Franklin. It is the intention of the applicant to develop the property into a mixed-use neighborhood with a variety of housing options, commercial space, and a hotel. The plan also includes 220 acres of open space. A zoning and development plan for the subject property are also included on this agenda. Staff's recommendations are those for the recommendations, and the amendments to the recommendations are included in your handout. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay, this is a public hearing, and I again will offer the opportunity for people to speak on the annexation. Seeing nobody come forward, I'm going to close the public hearing, and I would entertain a motion to approve Resolution 2025-25 on its second reading, stating for the record that the third reading of the annexation shall be held on April 28th, 2026, along with another public hearing. Thank you. Second by Alderman Potts. Also would ask that you consider an amendment to that motion to amend Resolution 2025-25 to remove "not" from the resolution title where referencing the city limits and location, replace the non-contiguous with contiguous to the first whereas clause and replace the map exhibit to show the updated city limits with the inclusion of the newly annexed Ingram property.
So moved.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Blanton. Is there any discussion on the amendment to the motion? Ready to vote? Alderman Barnhill.
Yes.
Alderman Blanton.
Yes.
Alderman Caesar.
No.
Alderman Peterson.
Yes.
Alderman Berger.
Yes.
Alderman Brown.
Yes.
Alderman Potts.
Yes.
And Vice Mayor Baggett.
Yes.
Passes 7-1. We'll go back to the original motion now as amended. Any discussion on it? Ready to vote? Alderman Barnhill.
Yes.
Alderman Blanton.
Yes.
Alderman Caesar.
No.
Alderman Peterson.
Yes.
Alderman Berger.
Yes.
Alderman Brown.
Yes.
Alderman Potts.
Yes.
And Vice Mayor Baggett.
Yes.
And if I'm correct, we don't need another vote, is that correct?
You're good.
Perfect. Okay, we'll now go to item number 8. This is a public hearing, consideration of ordinance 2025-06, and ordinance to zone 311.21 acres to Plan PD District and Hillside Hillcrest Overlay District for the property located west of Hillview Lane and north of Coleman Road at 1247 Hillview Lane. Joey?
Thank you. The applicant is requesting to zone the property at 1247 Hillview Lane, planned PD with the following entitlements: 0.78 dwelling units per acre, 32,000 square feet of commercial space, and 80 hotel rooms, or hotel keys, excuse me. And that's if should the plan of services annexation be approved by the Board of Maine Aldermen. The subject property consists of approximately 311 acres and is currently zoned MGA1. That's the county zoning for the property. Envision Franklin places this parcel into the Village Green design concept, which states that these areas provide the ability to establish a wider variety of housing options while prioritizing the preservation of open space. Desirable natural features should be identified first and set aside as part of the required 70% open space. For this property, Envision Franklin provides a special consideration regarding hospitality uses. It states that hospitality uses are appropriate as a secondary use within Village Green if sized appropriately and the building massing is in keeping with the location and design as indicated on the development plan, and have a maximum of 80 hotel keys. The accompanying development plan proposes 242 residential units in a variety of housing types, 32,000 square feet of non-residential space, and 80 hotel keys. The zoning entitlements as proposed is consistent with the recommendations of Envision Franklin. The applicant is also requesting to modify the Hillside Hillcrest overlay line on the property as part of this zoning request. The applicant has supplied visuals of the proposed HHO boundaries against the existing contours and tree lines of the property. The existing boundaries derive from a combination of protecting steep slopes, existing tree canopy, and the bases of existing hillsides. The proposed revision to the HHO lines southwest of the creek is minimal and maintains the same form of the existing boundary, adjusting to steep slope data in the area. The HHO revision on the southern property line follows that same slope criteria and preserves more of the hillside than the existing boundary. Based on the rationale and existing conditions of the property, staff is supportive of the proposed HHO boundary revisions. So staff's recommendations for the motion itself, as well as the amendments, are there available in your handouts. Happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
And this is an opportunity, this is a public meeting, so does anyone want to speak in reference to the annexation on ordinance 2025-06? Seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing. I would entertain a motion to approve ordinance 2025-06 on second reading, stating for the record that the third reading of the annexation shall be held on April 28, 2026, along with another public hearing. Is there a motion?
I move to approve.
As I just read. Thank
Correct,
you.
sir.
Is there a second? Second at Alderman Barnhill. Any discussion? Ready to vote? Alderman Barnhill.
Yes.
Alderman Blanton.
Yes.
Alderman Caesar.
No.
Alderman Peterson.
Yes.
Alderman Berger.
Yes.
Alderman Brown.
Yes.
Alderman Potts.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Baggett.
Yes.
Passes 7-1. We'll now go to item number 9, This is a public hearing, consideration ordinance, resolution 2025-26, a resolution approving a development plan for Harlan PUD subdivision with 15 modifications, development standards, building elements, parking, glazing, open space for the property located west of Hillview Lane and north of Coleman Road at 1247 Hillview Lane. Joey?
Thank you. The applicant has submitted a development plan for the Harlan PUD subdivision that includes 242 residential units, 32,000 square feet of non-residential space, and 80 hotel keys. The buildings range from 1 to 3 stories in height. Envision Franklin places this parcel into the Village Green design concept. The plan includes a variety of housing types, including single-family, townhouse, duplex, and small-scale multifamily with a maximum of 12 units per building. Also included is more than 200 acres of open space with a variety of both active and passive uses for this preserved area. For Village Green, Envision Franklin also recommends that commercial areas are intended to be comprised of neighborhood scale uses as well as boutique uses that are complementary to the neighborhood. Neighborhood scale commercial is encouraged to utilize residential above the commercial to activate and support the retail environment. Small-scale multifamily buildings and townhomes within the neighborhood village may be up to 3 stories in height. The plan proposes what they are calling the north and south villages that offer a tight cluster of commercial options adjacent to public gathering spaces that create unique live, work, play experiences. The height, scale, and massing of the proposed villages are in keeping with the vision of Envision Franklin. For this property, Envision Franklin provides a special consideration regarding hospitality uses. A boutique hotel that may include traditional hotel suites and rooms within an inn, or could include standalone cottages. Cottages could be a single unit or could include up to 4 suites per building for a total of 80 keys. The hotel complex is located in the central part of the development and meets the recommendations for this special consideration for the property. Condition of approval number 30 currently states that the development will be capped at 30 residential units until 2 connections are constructed and accepted by the Franklin Fire Department. The development would then be capped at 50 units until the roadway improvements to Columbia Avenue, Henpeck Lane, and Coleman Road are completed and accepted by both the city and TDOT. Since the last BOMA meeting, the applicant has provided alternate language for condition number 30 for off-site improvements as well as alternate design for northern access to the site. The applicant is proposing to extend Mac Hatcher Parkway to the future Chimeric Drive intersection, and a new road will be extended from this intersection to Hillview Lane. These improvements shall be completed and accepted by the city and TDOT prior to issuance of the 151st residential building permit or prior to any certificates of occupancy for commercial or mixed-use buildings in Phase 2. The complete version of the alternate condition number 30 is included as an exhibit with your materials. City staff, including the engineering department, is supportive of the revised language for condition number 30. Should the BOMA wish to amend the language for condition number 30 as proposed by the applicant, you would need to make such a motion to amend this condition as written in the applicant's exhibit and proposal. City staff generally does not support limiting access to public roads. If there is such a desire from the board to limit access to any public road, a motion to include the specific standard condition in the condition 30 would need to be made as well. Are you ready for the modifications of standards? Okay.
Eager. It is currently a public hearing, and Joe is explaining it, and he's going to go through the modification standards, and then I'm going to open up the pub for the public to speak. Alderman Peterson. Would you like to hear the public comments before he finishes? I'd prefer to go on and let him finish his comments if we could. Go ahead.
Okay,
Continue.
here we go. There are 15 modification of standards requests in this plan that address building elements, open space, signage, parking, and sidewalks. MOS number 1 is a request to allow a 5-foot or a 22-foot minimum setback from a Muse right-of-way specific to lots 84 through 86 and 92 through 105. When facing a Muse, the rear facade or property line shall have either a pedestrian door, 4-foot door clear path to the principal building or gate. For alley-loaded garages, Chapter 6 of the ordinance requires at least a 22-foot setback from a Muse alley right-of-way. There were significant concerns from our emergency department, including fire and police, about access to these lots with this MOS in place. Staff recommends disapproval of MOS number 1. FMPC voted to deny this MOS by a vote of 6-1. And as noted in work session, the applicant has acknowledged that there is their intent to forego this MOS request, but it does still have to be voted on. MOS number 2 is a request to allow decorative door surrounds with enhanced architectural detailing as an alternative to porches, stoops, and balconies for the housing building type, or the house building type, excuse me. Section 6.3 of the ordinance requires that front facade of each dwelling shall have a covered porch, covered stoop, or balcony over the main entrance. This requirement is to ensure that both people and deliveries have some form of shelter from the elements while entering and exiting the unit. Staff recommends disapproval of MOS number 2. Planning Commission recommended approval. MOS number 3 is very similar to MOS number 2 to allow for the decorative door surrounds and enhanced architectural detailing as an alternative to porches, stoops, and balconies for the townhouse building type. So 2 separate building types. Staff recommended disapproval of MOS number 3. Planning Commission recommended approval. MOS number 4 is a request to reduce the finished floor elevation to no minimum when a home office is in a townhome with live-work conditions. Staff recommends approval of MOS number 4, as does Planning Commission. MOS number 5 is a request to allow for 2 ground floor units to be ganged off a shared entry and not require a direct individual ground floor entrance. 3 to 4 ground floor units on the street facing facade require a minimum of 2 entries, either shared or to an individual unit. The ordinance requires multifamily buildings with facades along a street or internal drive to have individual entrances to all publicly accessed ground floor units in all ground floor dwellings. Due to the small-scale nature of the multifamily buildings in this development and the limited number of units on the ground floor, staff can support the request. However, a condition of approval, the applicant must revise the language to allow for a maximum of 2 ground floor units on the street-facing facade to be ganged off a shared entry and not required individual entrances, to remove redundant language and clarify the maximum number of entrances on the street-fronting facade. Staff recommends approval with conditions of MOS number 5, as does Planning Commission. MOS number 6 is a request to allow neighborhood village buildings to be at an angle from the frontage limited to Lot 23 only. Staff recommends approval of MOS number 6, as does Planning Commission. MOS number 7 is a request to change maximum glazing to upper floors to 85%. Staff recommends approval of MOS number 7, as does Planning Commission. MOS number 8 is a request to remove the transom requirement above storefront display windows. Staff recommends approval of MOS number 8, as does Planning Commission. MOS number 9 is a request to allow for the use of a singular rural path or a combination of a rural path and sidewalks on opposite side of the road. The ordinance requires that sidewalks and curb be required on both sides of public and private streets and internal drives. The applicant has made this request to allow for a more rural pattern of development. The MOS limits the request to those paths that are shown on sheets C2.16, C4.30, and C4.31. Due to the limited nature of this request and the applicant's desire to create a rural setting that is still pedestrian-friendly, staff can support the request. Staff recommends approval with conditions of MOS number 9, as does Planning Commission. MOS number 10 is a request to utilize Central Franklin overlay parking requirements for this development. Staff recommends approval of MOS number 10, as does Planning Commission. MOS number 11 is to request or to establish minimum parking guidelines for small-scale multifamily of 2 off-street parking stalls per residential unit. Staff recommends approval of MOS number 11, as does Planning Commission. MOS number 12 is a request for stormwater management features to occupy up to 85% of the neighborhood amenity when treated as a site amenity and designed pursuant to Section 17.5, specific to Lot 79. After review, staff is supportive of the request with modified language that stormwater management features only occupy a maximum of 60% of the neighborhood amenity. Additionally, the open space must have pedestrian and public activation around the entirety of the stormwater feature to properly activate for public use. Staff recommends approval with conditions of MOS number 12, as does Planning Commission. MOS number 13 is a request for stormwater management features to occupy up to 85% of the Pocket Park when treated as a site amenity and designed pursuant to Section 17.5 specific to Lot 159. After review of the request, staff can support this MOS provided that the applicant provide the illustration of in condition 161 to show how Lot 159 will provide public and pedestrian activation around the entirety of the stormwater feature. Staff recommends approval with conditions of MOS 13, as does Planning Commission. MOS 14, request to add additional elements among the required features of a pocket park, including trellises, arbors, informational signage, hammock areas, nature-based play areas, gathering spaces, outdoor gaming areas, pedestrian bridges, and overlooks. Staff has reviewed the request and understands the applicant's desire to offer different and unique features within the various pocket parks. However, some of the requested features are redundant to what is already allowed within pocket parks. Staff reports this MOS provided that the applicant modify the language and remove references to informal or informational signage and all features listed in the proposed Section F, as they are redundant to those listed in Section C. Staff recommends approval with conditions of MOS number 14, as does Planning Commission. MOS number 15 is a request to allow irregular shaped signage. Staff recommends approval of MOS number 15, as does Planning Commission. Yes, staff recommends, our recommendations are there for your motions and your amendments in your handout. Happy to answer any questions after I have a little glass of water.
We want to hear from the public now, and the first 5 people I'd like to call up for 2-minute comments: Janet Curtis, Penny Cromwell, Christina Garner, Dean Garner, or Dean, and Rob Dodson.
Good evening, Mayor and Alderman. My name is Janet Curtis. I live on North Chapel Road in Franklin. On November 30th, 1864, Winstead Hill stood as silent witness to one of the bloodiest chapters in American history. From its crest, Confederate General John Bell Hood looked north across these fields and made a fateful decision. At 4 p.m., a signal from his hill launched the largest single infantry assault of the Civil War. Thousands of brave men charged 2 miles across open ground into hellfire at Franklin. The battle that followed killed and wounded thousands in just 5 hours, including 6 Confederate generals. Winstead Hill became the beginning point of a defeat that broke the Army of Tennessee and helped seal the Confederacy's fate in the West. That hill still stands today, sacred ground that reminds us of sacrifice, courage, and the high cost of reckless decisions. Has anyone requested that there be a ground-penetrating search to make sure that there are no unmarked graves or anything else of historical significance on this property? Since this ground was part of the bloodiest battles, I would think that would be important to know. Yet now we stand at another tipping point. Right here next to this historic battlefield, the proposed development threatens to funnel hundreds of cars onto overwhelmed Columbia Pike or Columbia Avenue that carries over 22,000 vehicles a day. Planned road fixes ignore the bottlenecks that's just half a mile down the road. This is not progress. This is not smart. This is endangers family and erodes the very character that Franklin is special. Talk of right-of-way acquisitions is vague and hidden, considering the 1994 Tennessee Supreme Court ruling on the Alcoa annexation, which protects the voting rights of property owners along right-of-ways. The public deserves full transparency now, not later. Alderman Baggett warned us in 2021, and I quote, "We are at a tipping point. We must supply the reins and maintain our rural character and quaintness," end quote. So I ask you, is this how we honor that warning? By tipping the scales toward more congestion, lost heritage, and endangered neighborhoods? No, I urge you with everything I have, reject Resolution 2025-26. Protect our families, protect Franklin's soul before it is gone forever. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, everyone else. My name is Penny Cromwell. I'm a disabled veteran. I served in the U.S. Army, and you've heard me speak multiple times for probably about 13 months on the Zooms and in person. I'm the HOA board president for Through the Green, which is on the Shadow Green Drive. I've spoken about the parking concerns. I've spoken about not being able to assign our own parking spots in front of our townhome. I've spoken about how the city doesn't maintain the roads with the salt. I've even called the city to see if we could get salt during the snowstorms. And I've also spoken at length about getting speed bumps. And the one issue we have in our community is that we can't get a speed bump because we have one route of egress and entrance off of Columbia Avenue. Putting more than 2,000 cars per day on that route going through Chimerick to the Harlan PUD development will increase that amount. So am I clear? I just want to ask the question. Am I clear in understanding that the deferment tonight, because we've been to Coleman Road, Hillview Lane, Shadow Green, Hillview Lane, Chimerick, Shadow Green, every meeting it seems like something is like, to Vice Mayor Baggett's point, we're beating a dead horse and no decision has been made. And it's confusing to me every time I come after work and I don't know what is happening. Is the deferral that we're speaking about for next month, is that the deferral to decide whether Shadow Green is going to be used, or is that Shadow Green's going to be used no matter what and we need to just speak about our opinions on it? Can you answer that question?
The purpose is to listen to the public and not to discuss with the public. So you can get with staff afterwards.
Okay, because I just have a point then. If Shadow Green is going to be used, I would highly, highly like to ask the developers involved and the city of Franklin to put in a minimum of 3 speed bumps in our area. We recently had to get the traffic cops of the city of Franklin involved with some incidents with motorbikes where a 2-year-old child was almost hit and struck, where a 50-year-old woman was almost hit and struck, because people speed through there all the time. You put more cars there, someone's going to die. So if we can, please, please ask you for a minimum of 3 speed bumps. 1 by the pool area, down by the flats, 1 at the entry of our neighborhood, and 1 coming down the hill from Chimerick in our neighborhood. That would be my recommendation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Christina Garner, 1159 Hillview Lane. Back again. I'm not going to drone on. We've heard everything before. My only request today is that we do have a deferment. The new routing of we are protecting Hillview Lane is new. It's different. They haven't sent this one out before at all. We just got a chance to look at it. We'd like a little time to digest it and maybe come up with some other options, just for thoughts. Thank you.
Good evening, Blair Garner, 1159 Hillview Lane also. Also, like, once again, ask for deferment. This is new. No matter how we try to spin it, this is new. This Matt Catcher extension is new. We all know Matt Catcher proper, that connection is 20 to 30 years out. This is a new thing right now, what we're talking about adding this for the Harlan development. We'd ask for ability to absorb it. Meeting the bare minimum notification is not a sign of, transparency. That is bare minimum. You should want your public to know what's going on, not coming up here and going, oh, we met the bare minimum. They can't, that's all, that's good enough. It shouldn't be good enough. The people should know what's going on before the vote happens. Secondly, I'd also like to throw in we've heard several times tonight, we asked for stay off Hillview Lane. You got it. You should be happy. Please talk to my neighbor Emily, and how much have you stayed off Hillview Lane? The longest tenant resident of our street is having her home destroyed by this new plan. So please don't gloss over the concept that, oh, we saved Hillview Lane. You aren't. Thank you.
Rob Dodson, Your Honor. I also just want to request that the BOMA defer this matter along with the other. I do appreciate the effort to accommodate the desire of, I think, more than just the neighborhood to preserve Hillview Lane. My only problem is that it doesn't preserve all of Hillview Lane, and it is such a detriment to Emily McGidd, who has been such a benefit to this city. She has done things for this city that would have never, ever gotten done, and this is not how you repay that. It's just not. It's not. It is like spitting in the face of people who try to benefit this city to no benefit of their own. She tried to do it all anonymously. She's been a benefactor to the city, and to just pass this because it almost gets us where we want to be, it just isn't right, and it shouldn't happen. And that's all I have to say.
Next, I have Emily McGidd, Allison Peeler, Nikki Horner, James Palm, and Kim Kohler.
I'm Emily McGidd, 1208 Hillview Lane. I was not contacted by the developers. I knew nothing about this until Friday when Rob and Deanna Dobson had talked with the developers, and then they told me. I'm still kind of not knowing exactly where the new road is coming in. Am I a part of it? Do I have a new address? How do I get out? How do I get in? I took my car down my driveway, took the left. I tried to turn into where the new road would come in. My car is a 24-year-old car. It's got a turning radius less than a Mack truck. I have to go through 2 lanes of traffic to turn onto Chimerick, whatever it is. I feel isolated. My friends that live on the lane, if something has happened to me and they have to go to emergency, then they have to go down Hillview Lane, which they still have, take a left onto Columbia and wait for the light and see. Then they have to go down to the light at Shadow Green, take a left, and come all the way around to get me. Where it had been 2 minutes, it would be 20 minutes. Okay, I can't help it. I'm aging, and I didn't know that things were going to happen this soon. Also, I am in the land trust. It is a community resource, and it deserves consideration. What street am I going to be? Am I still Hillview? Please don't ring that in my face. This is something that is so important to me. Am I still Hillview? Am I Chimerick? I mean, it is personal to me. However, we did ask for Hillview Lane, and you have given us, or the developers have given us 2/3 of Hillview Lane. I still want to be a part of it, and I want to be a part of my neighbors where I've always been. Thank you kindly.
Sorry. Allison Peeler, 1399 Coleman Road. Thank you all for the opportunity to speak. I'm here to oppose the project moving forward tonight and ask for a deferment. I had planned to spend time discussing kind of some of the things that Mr. Caesar brought up about infrastructure and the fact that it takes me 15 to 20 minutes to get 3 miles down to my workplace from Coleman Road. But unfortunately, I feel like I need to spend more time addressing process and respect for the public. I'm disappointed to have to spend this time on this, but I feel like after the comments that have been made tonight, I can't ignore it. The public only received information last Thursday, and this is a really significant change to the plan. We also didn't receive the detailed packet that you guys got during the work meeting, and the little cards that were there were not even, I mean, they were turned around to us maybe once.
And we're asking to be react to this moving target. I mean, like they have said, the plan has continued to change, which I appreciate, but we're being asked to respond to a moving target without enough time and without all of the information. And the applicants had, plenty of time to get this to us. Last time we met, I think, was November. And against that backdrop, it's been really appalling to hear you, Mr. Baggett, spend significant time berating us for what we're posting online, and that we are posting about this online. For many of us, email, social media, neighborhood groups, those are really the only ways that we have to organize and be heard. And as a public servant, I would expect that you would respect that we have that right. Criticizing citizens for using online tools is extremely chilling. I understand that you're saying that there are some people who are posting false things, but it very much feels that we are being criticized for using these tools. Sends the message that public participation is only welcome when it's quiet, when it's convenient, and not when it's critical or organized. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor and Alderman, like I stated before, I'm Nikki Horner, 1401 Coleman Road. I'm here to address specifically Coleman Road as being one of the access points. Coleman Road is a beautiful country road, but it's also very dangerous. It's very curvy. There are many blind spots. We've had deaths on Coleman Road. Every winter, every freeze, the last one we had included, we always have people going off into the ditch area in the common area. We have them in front of our house. We just had one when we had our last freeze, and they had to come and tow them out. My husband himself has had to tow people out. It's a very unsafe road. Should this go through, I really would like you to press upon Boyle to really look at the safety of how that entrance is going to be for everybody on the road, especially the people that are trying to be utilizing that. Like I said, there's all kinds of blind spots coming. If you're coming from Columbia, turning left onto Coleman Road, where they propose to have the entrance, when you continue going, that is a complete blind spot there. You cannot see what is coming around. Where they're putting that entrance makes no sense. I know that's just because that's the property that they're connecting to it, but it is a very unsafe road. We have a friend who went off that road in a 4-car pileup during one of the freezes. So that is something to definitely be considered, let alone the traffic and all the hassle with that. I know we can't control that, but the safety is really a true concern on Coleman Road. So please take that into consideration.
My name is James Pound, 510 Vintage Green Lane, and it's great to hear such conversation tonight. Last time I was here, we couldn't even hear you with the audio so low, so much better tonight. I just want to address one thing, and that would be the access route. And just excuse me if I misinterpreted things, but my understanding right now, Shadow Green is at the top of the list. And when I look over that particular area, assuming it's going to be on our side of the development and not Coleman, it makes total sense to me that Mac Hatcher be extended, and maybe I overmissed that thought that maybe it's going to happen automatically, but the route really should be Mac Hatcher expansion to the extended part of Chimerick Road. That would be my number one choice. My number two choice would be going Century Road to Chimerick and using all of Chimerick, even though it might need some development along the industrial side to the development. My third choice, and it's not a choice, and that is what appears to be at the top of the list, is Shadow Green. Think of it, Shadow Green is the only route that's being considered that involves residential. The first two don't involve residential. The first two, especially the first one going the expansion route, doesn't involve a lot of turns and swings by the construction trucks. But I don't have to follow up with any more thoughts about why we're against it going through Shadow Green. I think that's been very properly expressed tonight. And the last thing I would say is I sent out an email today. I don't know if you all got it, but it pleaded with you, if you haven't, as alderman and mayor, made an attempt to go to that Shadow Green area and just walk through it or drive through it to understand where we're coming from and put yourself in our shoes. Empathy to me is an important part of your work as alderman and mayor. to put yourself in our shoes and ask the question, is this a good decision? Thank you.
My name is Kim Kohler. I'm a resident of the Shadow Green Townhome community. I live on Vintage Green, which connects to Chimerick up at the top. So this new proposed access route will directly affect me. I'd like to walk you through our current situation while adding in the potential problems this proposal can create. Starting off with turning onto Shadow Green Drive from Columbia Avenue. If you're heading north up Columbia, which most people do when they're heading home from work, you will turn at the light going left. This turn lane only accommodates 6 to 7 cars at a time. When this lane fills up, the overflow blocks the rest of the traffic coming to continue down Columbia. The reason for the backup is because we only have this one access point for 2 large apartment complexes, 84 townhomes, and 160 condos. But there is also a Chick-fil-A on the corner, which Mr. Caesar, you referenced, and this is the only road to get to that restaurant. And we all know how busy Chick-fil-A gets, especially around rush hour when you're stopping to pick up dinner. That creates our next pain point. The entrance to their drive-through is less than a half a block down the road. So during their busy times, these cars can be backed up onto Shadow Green, and I've seen it backed up to the stoplight before. Keeping this in mind, this is just the traffic we currently have, not with this new development. Think about the congestion it could create if you add this new development on top of that traffic. Let's move to the subdivision itself, which is pain point number 3. Shadow Green Drive and Vintage Green Lane were not designed for high volumes of traffic. They are beautiful curving roads. As Mr. Baggett, you said you've been there. However, there's a slope that starts at the back of the neighborhood by Chimerick that runs down to the front that allows for quick acceleration, which has created speeding issues for us and unsafe areas as people go quickly around those curves. Those are blind spots. We've had to call the police, as Penny mentioned, for reckless driving. We have issues with delivery drivers, and I'll wrap this up. I seriously doubt that you all would vote to have all this traffic go through your neighborhood, but you want it to go through ours. That's not fair. We will have to deal with this, not you guys, so think about that, please.
Okay, did I miss anybody? No, I was going to recognize the developer next, but if there's no other citizens, I'm going to allow the developer to come and speak. Greg Gamble and Adam Balash.
Hi, Board of Mayor and Aldermen. My name is Greg Gamble, and Mayor, I have a request to make since it appears to be that item 9 is going to be deferred until April. Would you mind if I used my 2 minutes to just quickly explain the off-site road improvements that are being proposed so that as the neighbors go home, they can accurately describe what is being proposed so that they're informed?
Sure.
Okay, at the Joint Conceptual Workshop, we had a map that showed a drawing of the proposed roadways. Thank you.
Is this the one from January?
Just, it's the one from 2 hours ago. Oh, the work session. The work session.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, you're like, how far back?
This is important.
We haven't started.
This is a lot of education.
Don't worry.
We give them a little extra time.
You're on it. Mayor and Alderman, I'd like to walk you through.
If you wait just a minute.
Okay, sure.
Our scouts are leaving. They want to go home and go to bed. Similar to we do also, but. Okay, go ahead, Mr. Gammon.
Sure. Just to point out a couple of things real quick to give context. This is the Mac Hatcher and Columbia Avenue intersection here. Today, you can continue westbound on Hillview Lane. This area right here is the tree tunnel. And then this is Hillview Lane as it works its way west toward the proposed Harlan development. Boyle is proposing to construct the western side of the McHatcher and Columbia Avenue intersection to its full build-out, when the state would be proposing to develop it out. So it will have all of the lanes that will be needed for turning and accessing Columbia Avenue and McHatcher Parkway. They are proposing to construct 2 lanes of McHatcher Parkway parallel but north of the Hillview Lane tree tunnel. That 2 lanes of McHatcher will continue to the west until it reaches or is parallel to Shimrick Drive. At this point here, the right-of-way for Shimmick Drive has already been dedicated as public right-of-way to the property line with the Shadow Green development plan and final plats. Oops. Okay, Shimmick Drive is constructed to about this point right here. Whenever a development is proposed in the city of Franklin, the zoning ordinance says extend adjacent roadways to the property lines. Boyle is connecting this road because that is a requirement of the zoning ordinance. You, Board of Mayor and Aldermen, can decide if you don't want it connected. We anticipate that the majority of the traffic from Harlan will use McHatcher Parkway extension to reach the intersection of Columbia Avenue and McHatcher and not cut through the Shadow Green neighborhood. So for Hillview, Hillview is proposed to be preserved and untouched from this point right here all the way to basically the intersection of the Target Shopping Center. The tree tunnel will remain and no trees will be taken down. No road improvements are being proposed from that section. The McGid driveway is right here. It's maybe a little bit difficult to see. You can certainly see it white to the west here. It parallels and follows the tree line. It is aligned directly across from where Hillview is now. We'd like to design this intersection where it's more of a 4-way intersection where the McGid driveway is directly opposite the existing Hillview. Want to be able to allow her full access to Hillview Lane, that she can travel Hillview Lane and continue to go through the tree tunnel, coming or going, with access back to the intersection of Columbia Avenue and McHatcher. A gate will be installed at the very beginning of the development at this location to make sure that all construction traffic is barred from coming in from the north. That gate would not be removed until the road improvement and connection back to the McHatcher extension is finished, completed, and accepted by the city of Franklin. I hope that helps kind of give a little bit more context, maybe helps explain what we talked about during the BOMA work session this afternoon. And I will reserve the rest of my comments for when we come back and see you in April. Thank you so much for setting that up for me, Casey.
Okay, did we miss anybody? If not, I'm going to declare the public hearing closed. And here's the game plan. If you can listen up, is first of all, I would entertain a motion to approve Resolution 2025-26. As mentioned earlier, there is a need to amend Resolution 2025-26 to revise conditions of approval number 30, which are listed in the handout that you have. And then after that amendment, we would entertain the modifications of standards. As we usually do, each one would get a vote, followed by then on a fourth addendum or fourth motion to defer to April 28th. So I would now entertain a motion to approve Resolution 2025-26.
So moved.
Second.
Appropriate motion, second by Alderman Potts. I'd now entertain an amendment to that motion to revise the conditions of approval 30. And if you'd like me to read those, or would you like to read them, Vice Mayor?
I'll do it. Motion to amend Resolution 2025-26 to revise condition of approval number 30, off-site improvements to read. It is up to the applicant to secure the right-of-way needed for off-site improvements. Specific details of right-of-way acquisition will be spelled out in an agreement if needed. Prior to first new building permits issued for Harlan by the City of Franklin, the applicant shall complete the proposed entry improvements at Coleman Road and the proposed improvements to the Coleman Road Henpeck intersections at Columbia Pike. These improvements shall be accepted by the City of Franklin and TDOT as applicable prior to opening them for public use. Northern access from Harlan to Hillview Lane shall be temporarily gated with an emergency gate. The emergency gate shall be removed upon the completion of the following improvements or as coordinated with the City of Franklin engineer. See attached Exhibit A and Development Plan Sheet C4.31, C4.32, and C4.34 for reference. A, the western approach for Matt Catcher Parkway and Columbia Avenue intersection is improved. B, a 2-lane road section and 8-foot multi-use trail rural path for Matt Catcher Parkway is extended to the proposed new intersection with Chimerick Drive and New Road. C, Chimerick Drive is extended to Matt Catcher Parkway per Shadow Green PUD subdivision development plan approved November 2017, resolution 2017-20. New road, D, new road is extended from Hillview Lane to Matt Catcher Parkway. And E, all new improvements are accepted by the City of Franklin and TDOT as applicable. F, these improvements shall be completed and accepted by the City of Franklin and TDOT as applicable prior to the issuance of the 151st building permit or prior to any certificates of occupancy for commercial use or mixed use buildings in Phase 2 as shown in the development plan sheet C6.0 or as otherwise determined by the city engineer for the City of Franklin or its designee. Applicant shall update C4.31 to clarify that new road shall match the proposed Hillview Lane road section and to include a new temporary Matt Catcher road section and replace exhibits on sheets C4.32 and C4.34 of the development plan at one stop to reflect the modified conditions of approval.
You've heard the amendment proposed by the Vice Mayor. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Barnhill. Any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, are you ready to vote on the amendment? Alderman Barnhill.
Yes.
Alderman Blanton.
Yes.
Alderman Caesar.
No.
Alderman Peterson.
Yes.
Alderman Berger.
Yes.
Alderman Brown.
Yes.
Alderman Potts.
Yes.
And Vice Mayor.
Yes.
Passes 7-1. We'll now go to modification of standards. And the first modification, you've heard them described, I'm just gonna go by number rather than going into a lengthy description. So you're aware of what those are. So modification of standard 1, I would entertain a motion to deny.
Motion to deny.
Second.
Second by Alderman Berger. Any discussion on modification of standard 1? Seeing none, ready to vote? Alderman Barnhill.
Yes.
Alderman Blanton.
Yes.
Alderman Caesar.
Yes.
Alderman Peterson.
Yes.
Alderman Berger.
Yes.
Alderman Brown.
Yes.
Alderman Potts.
Yes.
And Vice Mayor Baggett.
Yes.
Passes unanimously to deny modification standard 1. Modification standard 2, is there a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Brown. Thank you. Any discussion? Are you ready to vote? Alderman Barnhill.
Yes.
Alderman Blanton.
Yes.
Alderman Caesar.
Yes.
Alderman Peterson.
Yes.
Alderman Berger.
Yes.
Alderman Brown.
Yes.
Alderman Potts.
Yes.
Vice Mayor.
Yes.
Passes unanimously. We'll now go to modification standard number 3. Is there a motion?
I move to approve.
Second.
Thank you. Seconded by Alderman Berger. Any discussion? Ready to vote? Alderman Barnhill.
Yes.
Alderman Blanton.
Yes.
Alderman Caesar.
Yes.
Alderman Peterson.
Yes.
Alderman Berger.
Yes.
Alderman Brown.
Yes.
Alderman Potts.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Baggett.
Yes.
Passes unanimously. Modification standard number 4. Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Thank you, Alderman Brown. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Barnhill. Any discussion on modification standard number 4? Seeing none, ready to vote, Alderman Barnhill.
Yes.
Alderman Blanton.
Yes.
Alderman Caesar.
Yes.
Alderman Peterson.
Yes.
Alderman Berger.
Yes.
Alderman Brown.
Yes.
Alderman Potts.
Yes.
Alderman Baggett.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Baggett, excuse me, passes unanimously. Now we'll go to modification standard number 5. Is there a motion?
Move for approval with conditions.
Appropriate motion, approve with conditions.
Second.
Second by Alderman Berger. Any discussion?
Yes, sir.
Alderman Potts, go ahead.
Yes, sir, thank you. I was going to ask a question just for clarification, and I'm trying to pull it up. I apologize. Just trying to get here to number 5.
Joey can come up and help you.
Number 5, request to allow up to 4 ground floor units to be accessed from the central entry and interior corridor. However, I thought in the civic clerk it said 2.
Yeah, you said 2 several times. And I circled it, it says 4.
Yeah. So just wanted to get clarification on that, please.
It's a total of 4 units on the ground floor, but then 2 entrances to the 4 units. So it's a difference between units and entrances to those units. So, yeah, 2 entrances to the building that could be then ganged off to the 4 units on the ground floor. So it was a little confusing because we do require all ground floor units to have to be accessible from the exterior on the ground floor, on the street facing side. I'm saying a lot of words, I know. But essentially, it's not changing the number of units on the ground floor. It is changing the number of entrances to the building.
Yep.
Thank you.
Any
Thank you,
further
sir.
discussion or questions?
I just have one, Joey, I'm sorry. If you come back up, if I could, Mayor.
Go ahead, Alderman.
Allow for a maximum of 2 ground floor units on the street-facing facade to be ganged off a shared entry. So that means the 2 first-floor units can share a single door.
Correct.
On the street side, or they could each have their own door, but then there'd be no rear end exit.
It was the intention of the applicant to have more of a traditional appearance to these buildings, so you don't have like the balconies with the walk-up paths that you see more in modern multifamily. So that's the reasoning for this request, to have one entry that can be ganged internally to the 2 different units.
Got it, thank you. Yeah, it looks good.
Ready to vote on modification standard 5, Alderman Barnhill.
Yes.
Alderman Blanton.
Yes.
Alderman Caesar.
Yes.
Alderman Peterson.
Yes.
Alderman Berger.
Yes.
Alderman Brown.
Yes.
Alderman Potts.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Baggett.
Yes.
Passes unanimously. Modification number 6. Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Appropriate motion by Alderman Brown, second by Alderman Potts. Any discussion? Seeing none, ready to vote. Alderman Barnhill.
Yes.
Alderman Blanton.
Yes.
Alderman Caesar.
Yes.
Alderman Peterson.
Yes.
Alderman Berger.
Yes.
Alderman Brown.
Yes.
Alderman Potts.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Baggett.
Yes.
Passes unanimously. We'll now go to modification standard number 7. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Alderman Caesar. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Alderman Blanton. Any discussion?
Motion to approve, I'm sorry.
Yes.
I agree with him.
Ready to vote?
Yes.
Alderman Barnhill.
Yes.
That was a yes. Alderman Blanton.
Yes.
Alderman Caesar.
Yes.
Alderman Peterson.
Yes.
Alderman Berger.
Yes.
Alderman Brown.
Yes.
Alderman Potts.
Yes.
And Vice Mayor Baggett.
Yes.
Passes unanimously. Modification standard number 8. Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Or second, whichever you prefer.
Alderman Brown made the motion and Alderman Blanton seconded. Any discussion on modification standard number 8 approval? Ready to vote? Alderman Barnhill.
Yes.
Alderman Blanton.
Yes.
Alderman Caesar.
Yes.
Alderman Peterson.
Yes.
Alderman Berger. Alderman Brown.
Yes.
Alderman Potts.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Baggett.
Yes.
Passes unanimously. Modification standard number 9. Is there a motion to approve?
Move for approval.
Thank you, Alderman Berger. With conditions. Yes. Seconded by Alderman Potts. Any discussion? Ready to vote on modification standard number 9 with modifications. Conditions, excuse me. I'm writing and speaking simultaneously. Alderman Barnhill.
Yes.
Alderman Blanton.
Yes.
Alderman Caesar.
Yes.
Alderman Peterson.
Yes.
Alderman Berger.
Yes.
Alderman Brown.
Yes.
Alderman Potts.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Baggett.
Yes.
Passes unanimously. We'll now go to modification standard 10. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
That was Alderman
Peterson.
Alderman Peterson, thank you for chiming in. Seconded by Alderman Brown. Any discussion on modification standard 10 approval? Seeing none, we're going to vote. Alderman Barnhill.
Yes.
Alderman Blanton.
Yes.
Alderman Caesar.
Yes.
Alderman Peterson.
Yes.
Alderman Berger. Alderman Brown.
Yes.
Alderman Potts.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bagley.
Yes.
Passes unanimously on modification standard number 10 approval. Number 11, modification standard number 11, I ask for a motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you, Alderman Blanton, second by Alderman Caesar. Any discussion? Seeing none, ready to vote. Alderman Barnhill.
Yes.
Alderman Blanton.
Yes.
Alderman Caesar.
Yes.
Alderman Peterson.
Yes.
Alderman Berger.
Yes.
Alderman Brown.
Yes.
Alderman Potts.
Yes.
And Alderman Vice Mayor Baggett.
Yes.
Passes unanimously. I'll now ask for approval of modification standard 12 with conditions.
So moved.
Thank you, Alderman.
Second.
Blanton, seconded by Alderman Brown. Any discussion?
I got a question on this.
Go ahead, Alderman.
Joy. So, request for stormwater management features to occupy 85% of neighborhood amenities. That's a lot, that percentage is a lot. So how is that amenity, stormwater management, is this a retention or detention pond that they're talking about here? or is
It's
it
to
just-
have just various the ability to have stormwater features, and for this one, it is the neighborhood amenity. And the condition is to reduce it to 60%.
Oh, to reduce it. And to make it into an amenity?
So we have different classifications of open space, active and passive open spaces. So neighborhood amenity is one of our classified open spaces. So typically, stormwater features, I don't think they're permitted at all within the neighborhood amenity. But this is to allow for essentially a dressier retention pond, essentially.
Something nice.
Something nice, yes.
That's what I want to hear.
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
I would ask, there's a discrepancy as far as modification standard 12 and the handout that we have on the online. Modification standard references 60% of the neighborhood
It says
amenity,
85%.
and the sheet that you have in front of
Yeah.
you says 85%. It should read
So
60%.
the applicant in the MOS itself is requesting 85%.
Yeah.
Our condition is to reduce that to 60%.
Thank you for
So
the
that's why it says 85% there.
So the condition that the motion, the original motion was made by Alderman Blanton is that it be approved with the condition, which is 60%. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay?
Clarification, I think I was the second on that motion. For reference to the staff condition that the open space must have pedestrian and public activation around the entirety of the stormwater feature to properly activate for public use, is that not the condition? Or one of the conditions?
It's one of the conditions. So, in the staff report, I'll just go ahead and read it out loud. Staff is supportive of the request with the modified language that stormwater management features only occupy a maximum of 60% of the neighborhood amenity. Additionally, the open space must have pedestrian and public activation around the entirety of the stormwater feature to properly activate for public use. So that condition is written into the existing conditions.
Thank you.
60%.
Yes.
Yes. Alderman Barnhill.
Yes.
Alderman Blanton.
Yes.
Alderman Caesar.
Yes.
Alderman Peterson.
Yes.
Alderman Berger.
Yes.
Alderman Brown.
Yes.
Alderman Potts.
Yes.
And Vice Mayor.
Yes.
Modification standard 13, I look for a motion of approval with conditions.
So move.
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Potts. Ready to vote? Alderman Barnhill.
Yes.
Alderman Blanton.
Yes.
Alderman Caesar.
Yes.
Alderman Peterson.
Yes.
Alderman Berger.
Yes.
Alderman Brown.
Yes.
Alderman Potts.
Yes.
And Vice Mayor.
Yes.
Passes unanimously. We'll now go to modification standard number 14. I would look for a motion to approve with conditions.
Sir, I move to approve with conditions.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Alderman Brown. Any discussion? Seeing none, ready to vote, Alderman Barnhill.
Yes.
Alderman Blanton.
Yes.
Alderman Caesar.
Yes.
Alderman Peterson.
Yes.
Alderman Berger.
Yes.
Alderman Brown.
Yes.
Alderman Potts.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Baggett.
Yes.
Passes unanimously. Item modification standard 15. I would look for a motion to approve modification standard 15.
So move.
Thank you, Alderman
Second.
Berger. Second by Alderman Caesar. Any discussion? Seeing none, we're going to vote. Alderman Barnhill.
Yes.
Alderman Blanton.
Yes.
Alderman Caesar.
Yes.
Alderman Peterson.
Yes.
Alderman Berger.
Yes.
Alderman Brown.
Yes.
Alderman Potts.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Baggett.
Yes.
I would now ask for an additional motion to defer Resolution 2025-26 to the April 28th BOMA meeting with another public hearing to be held at that time.
Mayor, I'd like to motion to defer Resolution 2025-26 as amended and and approved to the April 28th BOMA meeting with another public hearing to be held at that time.
Second.
Appropriate motion, second. Alderman Brown.
Just point of order, our question here is, so we're not going to even make comments on the development plan tonight?
Good. Well, now I can.
You can, before this amendment, yes. So I can go back, I guess that's my mistake that I didn't ask for comments on that. So I'm going to hold up on recognizing
All
that
right.
motion.
I'll retract
And
it.
it's been withdrawn. So go ahead on your on your comments on the development.
I just figured we got to see it, we're gonna see it again, I know, but might as well at least take the opportunity to at least talk about it. First of all, I appreciated the comment about your 2021 statement about preserving rural character. This is a great application of Village Green. This is why we did Village Green, was to preserve rural character. Prior to us creating Village Green, we would have never had 270 acres preserved. We would have never had 0.7 per acre density, I don't think. I don't think that would ever came forward. This is exactly what we wanted Village Green to try to accomplish. Still trying to get that missing middle housing in there, and yet really transitioning from sort of core out into that rural area. That's why I think I'm most excited about this. I actually can't wait till April 28th to actually support this development plan, because I think this is what we have always wanted to see in Village Green, to see happen. And the fact that you've now protected Hillview, that you've now put infrastructure ahead of occupancy, I think this is finally, it's taking a long time. It's taken a lot of pain to get here, I know. But we finally have ended up in a really great place. The fact that we're getting an extension of Mac Hatcher and that infrastructure built, and frankly, even the Columbia down by Coleman, let's face it, the county's never going to do it for us. So great that we're getting that done. It's a great development plan. I'm excited about it. And if ever there was a model for Village Green, it's probably this one. So that's my comment.
Thank you. Any other comments before we, Alderman Potts?
Thank you, sir. I just wanted to thank both the developer and the public for partnering together throughout this entire process. The solutions that have been presented, I know it's a collective. A lot of people have been involved. Not everybody's always going to be happy with every single solution. But this has been so many months in the works that I think this is definitely better than what came before us initially. And I know it was tough to see. I'm hoping that this is available online. But what we've got right here with this timeline and how we're seeing Columbia Avenue's construction, whether it slides 2 years or not, I know that question came up. It may slide a little bit more according to federal funding, just see where that lands. But with this Mac Hatcher improvements on the west side, state partnership that's coming up in the future, these timelines are going to be really important. And it's going to be very important when it comes to this type of development plan to work off the facts and to make sure we're always communicating the facts. And so I'm glad that we're moving to April 28th to make sure everybody's able to go in, look at the facts, and absorb all of this for this development plan. And I'm looking forward to supporting this when we get to 428 as well.
All right,
Vice Mayor?
They open it up. I'm going to tack on one thing. We talk here about infrastructure before development. And it's this balance where we if you don't have this applicant funding the infrastructure development before the actual rooftops go up, there's $8 million worth of road improvements that don't get done. And, or the city taxpayer pays for it, or the county taxpayer. This is the first time, and I appreciate this from the applicant, where they've listened to the fact that we want to see infrastructure before the development happen and see it on a timeline, to your point, Alderman Potts. Like, this should be an example to others, is let us see that you're achieving what we're wanting by showing us how you're going to do infrastructure before the rooftops come on board. I think this is a new way of looking at things. I hope the public, comes along with this and begins to understand it. Granted, they haven't seen this yet, and that's why it's being deferred, and I'm glad that's the direction it's going. But this is, love the direction we're going on this, and I guess we held to our preservation of rural character with the 70% and the 0.7 houses per acre. So thanks, Matt, for saying that.
Anybody else on the development plan? If not, I would entertain a fourth amendment that would defer this resolution to Resolution 2025-26 to the April 28th Board of Mayor and Alderman meeting with another public hearing to be held at that time.
So moved.
Thank you, Alderman Peterson. Second, Alderman Caesar. Any discussion? Ready to vote? Alderman Barnhill.
Yes.
Alderman Blanton.
Yes.
Alderman Caesar.
Yes.
Alderman Peterson.
Yes.
Alderman Berger.
Yes.
Alderman Brown.
Yes.
Alderman Potts.
Yes.
And Vice Mayor Baggett.
Yes.
That passes unanimously. We'll now go to item number 10, which is City of Franklin contract number 2025-0110 with Boyle Investment Company for parkland impact fee and construction agreement for Harlan PUD. I would ask for deferral to April 28th.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Alderman Caesar. Any discussion? Ready to vote? Alderman Barnhill.
Yes.
Alderman Blanton.
Yes.
Alderman Caesar.
Yes.
Alderman Peterson.
Yes.
Alderman Berger.
Yes.
Alderman Brown.
Yes.
Alderman Potts.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Baggett.
Yes.
Passes unanimously. Item number 11 is consideration City of Franklin contract number 2025-0158 with Boyle Nashville LLC for a road impact fee offset agreement for an amount not to exceed $4,647,999. I would ask deferral to the April 28th meeting for the Board of Mayor and Alderman.
So moved.
Thank you, Alderman Brown, seconded by the Alderman Potts. Any discussion? Ready to vote? We're going to actually go in reverse order. Vice Mayor.
Yes.
Alderman Potts.
Yes.
Alderman Brown.
Yes.
Alderman Berger.
Yes.
Alderman Peterson.
Yes.
Alderman Caesar.
Yes.
Alderman Blanton.
Yes.
And Alderman Barnhill.
Yes.
Passes unanimously. We'll now go to new business, Resolution 2026-04, authorizing the execution of City of Franklin contract number 2026-0077 with Walker Consultants for the Central Franklin Parking Study. Is there a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Brown. Any discussion? We're going to start with Alderman Peterson. How
Yeah.
do you vote?
Yes.
Alderman Berger.
Yes.
Alderman Brown.
Yes.
Alderman Potts.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Baggett.
Yes.
Alderman Barnhill.
Yes.
Alderman Blanton.
Yes.
And Alderman Caesar.
Yes.
Passes unanimously. Next to item 13, which is Resolution 2026-10, establishing a steering committee for the Central Franklin Parking Study. Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Second by Alderman Potts. Any discussion?
You know, I like steering associated with parking.
We needed that, Clyde.
Thank you, Clyde. Appreciate that.
I didn't even recognize you, and you got to speak.
I wouldn't have got to speak if you recognized me.
Alderman Caesar.
I too like steering. In regards to, I too like steering. I'm also proud to see our fine colleague Alderman Baggett as one of the members of that steering committee. And so keep the wheel and the eyes on the road there. We're excited to see what the results are. I'll think of some more puns if we just have more time tonight.
Stick my neck out there.
Ready to vote? Let's see. We'll start with Alderman Berger.
Yes.
Alderman Brown.
Yes.
Alderman Potts.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Baggett.
Yes.
Alderman Barnhill.
Yes.
Alderman Blanton.
Yes.
Alderman Caesar.
Yes.
Alderman Peterson.
Yes.
Passes unanimously. We'll now go to item 14, which is Resolution 2026-07, resolution to revise the design concept for the intersection upgrade project at Liberty Pike and Mallory Lane, North Royal Oaks Boulevard.
Mayor, I move to approve.
Thank you, Alderman Potts, seconded by Alderman
me have it.
Peterson.
No.
Please let me have it.
I recognize Alderman Blanton as the
Thank you.
second. Any discussion? Ready to vote? We'll start with Vice Mayor Baggett.
Yes.
Alderman Potts.
Yes.
Alderman Brown.
No.
Alderman Berger.
No.
Alderman Peterson.
Yes.
Alderman Caesar.
No.
Alderman Blanton.
Yes.
And Alderman Barnhill.
Yes.
So it passes 5-3. Next is item 15, Resolution 2026-19, a resolution authorizing the City of Franklin to join the new national opioid settlement with 6 regional distributors, dispenser defendants, Remnant Defenders Settlement, Associated Pharmacies, Inc., and American Associated Pharmacies, M. Smith Corporation, Louisiana Wholesale Drug Company, Inc., Morris and Dixon Company, North Carolina Mutual Wholesale Drug Company, Inc., and United Natural Foods, Inc., including its subsidiary Super Value and Advantage Logistics, 6 remnant defendants. Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Thank you, Alderman Brennan. Is there a second? Alderman Berger, was that you?
Second.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any discussion? Alderman Barnhill.
Yes.
Alderman Blanton.
Yes.
Alderman Caesar.
Yes.
Alderman Peterson.
Yes.
Alderman Berger.
Yes.
Alderman Brown.
Yes.
Alderman Potts.
Yes.
And Vice Mayor.
Yes.
Vice Mayor, is there any other business to come before this body? If not, what do you
Motion to
think there should
adjourn.
be? Thank you, Alderman Blanton. You get the second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.